if you have hip pain and it's been bothering you for some time and you're really depressed about it and you've maybe been to a doctor, maybe you've already had a diagnosis, maybe like me, you've already been told that's it, it's over, you've got hip osteoarthritis, it can't be treated, you need a hip replacement and you're terrified, just call a timeout, join me for this video and just listen to what I'm saying so that you can understand as much as possible about what might be going on in your hip and what might not be going on in your hip before you make any big long-term commitments to difficult or expensive procedures. So welcome to Shape Fixer. I'm Andrew. I am a nutritionist. I'm also a sportsman. I have a history with a hip issue. I've done a video on that. I'll link it at the end of this video. It looks like this. Okay, so this is not a link. Don't click on this now. This is just what the thumbnail looks like. I'm going to link it at the end of the video. If you are interested in seeing what I went through and how I sorted mine out, but I was told I need a hip replacement and I didn't have a hip replacement, and that's probably 3 years back now or something. And I'm still doing a lot of sport. And yes, I've had injuries since then. I've had accidents. I've been knocked off my bike by a truck and landed on my hip. And I'm still doing sport and I haven't had a hip replacement. So your diagnosis might even be wrong for the simple reason that there are so many things that can be wrong with your hip that your doctor's not necessarily going to get the right diagnosis the first time around because it's a complicated area. A lot of the symptoms overlap. So there's a conflicting story, and I'm going to explain to you in this video very briefly or sort of a high level what the different possibilities are, the things are that could be causing you pain. Obviously, you might have more than one of them, but the good news is that there is a fairly simple procedure that you can follow for 3 months, it's not very long, to improve your symptoms to the point that it at least makes it more clear what the underlying issue is. And maybe, like a lot of people, after 3 months, you'll be fine completely. Okay? So that's where we're going to go with this. Now, I haven't scripted this. This is not a presentation. This is just a chat. Okay? So we're just going to talk about these things. So the first thing that happens is that you get told you have arthritis, osteoarthritis. Now, before we even go any further with that, understand that there are two broad types of arthritis that you might have in your hip joint. Osteoarthritis, which is a mechanical damage issue, and it's got to do with overuse and wearing down your cartilage to the point that the bones are too close together or even touching each other, and that gives you a lot of pain and restricts your movement. That is osteoarthritis. The other type is rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune issue. So your immune system is attacking your cartilage and breaking it down. The end result is sort of the same. You don't have enough cartilage and you have a lot of pain, but the cause is different. Okay, so I will come back to this. You might have arthritis, but understand that you might have some level of degradation or damage to the cartilage in your joint, but it's not giving you pain. Your pain might be from something else. But in most cases, the moment you have hip pain, your doctor will suspect arthritis because it is actually quite common. You'll get an x-ray or some kind of scan that shows that your hip cartilage is getting degraded, and therefore the conclusion is that's why you have pain, you need a hip replacement. Okay, just not so fast, because that is not necessarily the case at all. So I'm going to link at the end of this another video that I made, and I'm showing that here now, about how your cartilage actually works in your joint. And that video has links to studies and to other material. Cartilage does grow back. It grows back all the time. Your cartilage cells produce collagen into that space between the bones to keep the buffer there. You wear them down all the time because your bones are moving against each other every time you take a step. Okay? So the collagen gets worn off and the underlying cartilage cells produce new collagen. It's kind of like you keep cutting your hair, but it keeps growing back. All right? What unfortunately tends to happen with most people is that the rate or the speed at which you are able to replace that collagen into that cartilage space, that slows down as you get older. And it's made worse by the fact that you might be doing repetitive exercises that are really grinding away at it, or there may be power imbalances in your muscles which are causing it to not be aligned properly, so you really wear a part of it down. Your diet is, in many cases, suboptimal, to say the least. Our Western diet is really bad. You're eating things that add to inflammation. You're not eating enough of the nutrients that you need to be able to produce collagen, and so the rate of damage gets ahead of you as you get older, and it wears down. Your doctors will say to you, it's wearing down, it doesn't come back, therefore you need a hip replacement. Rubbish. It does come back, it's just not coming back quickly enough, and it can't keep up with you. So if you change your exercises and your diet and give it a chance, there is a very high possibility that you will be able to reverse that trend and start building collagen up again. That's what I did. That's what worked for me. Okay, and we're going to get to that in a minute. So there is definitely hope, unless it's so bad that you've ground away the top of the bones and there's just no cartilage cells left and there's nothing you can do. But by then, you're in such pain you don't sleep and you are totally incapable of walking. Fine. Maybe you need a hip replacement. Maybe. All right. But it might not be osteoarthritis that's giving you the pain in the first place. So until recently, the only people who ever had x-rays and scans on their hip joints were people with pain. So you have pain, so you go in, you have a scan, your cartilage is worn down to a point, therefore we jump to conclusions, we need a hip replacement, our cartilage is destroyed. More recently, studies have been done on thousands of healthy people with no pain, even in their 20s, a whole range of people, different age groups, on hips, on spinal discs, on all sorts of cartilage areas in the body, to look and to see what it looks like in a so-called healthy person, a person with no problems, perfect mobility, no pain. Just about everybody shows some wear and tear. Because, of course, that's what it does. It's getting worn down and it's growing back all the time. So if you do have pain, just because there's wear and tear in the joint does not mean that that is the thing that is causing the pain, because a lot of people have that without any pain. So you might have a tendon issue. It might just be a tendon. Typically, it will be a gluteal tendon, but there are a lot of tendons around the hip area. So a tendinopathy, which means a problem with a tendon, which could be tendinitis, which is just inflammation, or it could be tendinosis, where the tendon is breaking down and it's been damaged in some way. That will cause pain in your hip area. You may have ligament damage. You might have a torn labrum in your hip joint, which can be fixed relatively easy with very, very minor surgery, and sometimes without surgery at all, just with the right approach. You might have bursitis on the side of your leg. You might have sciatica, so a trapped nerve that's causing pain in your hip and down your leg. There are all sorts of things. There's even a thing called greater trochanteric pain syndrome, which is in fact a tendon issue over the trochanter, which is the sort of bony lump that sticks out the side of your hip. Now, how to figure out which one of these is your problem, especially when you might have 2 or 3 of them, is not simple. And unfortunately, most doctors are not necessarily specialists in all these aspects of hip damage. They're all very aware of arthritis, and that's always the go-to diagnosis, if you like. So if you understand that there are all these possibilities, well, that's great, but how does that help you figure out what to do and make a decision about whether you should be getting surgery or not, or some other kind of expensive procedure? So here is the bottom line of what you need to do. You need to do whatever you can to reduce the symptoms as much as possible so that it becomes a bit clearer what the underlying issue may be. So if there's something you can do for, say, the next 3 months that makes the pain reduce, that gives you a bit more mobility, maybe, like in my case, you'll be absolutely fine. Or maybe you will just be better enough that you can go back to the doctor and say, you know what, I don't have this problem anymore. I don't have this problem. I only have this. I have pain in one particular spot. Let's scan that spot and let's see if it's that. Okay, so there are definitely ways you can do that. Now, I have made videos about this approach, and so I'm just going to touch on it briefly, but I'm going to link very specific videos here so that you can go and look at them and really understand the issue. So the first thing is weight. If you are overweight, you are just putting unnecessary pressure on that joint because you're just too heavy and you're making it hurt, you're making it inflamed, you're grinding the cartilage away much more quickly than you need to be. So if you can lose weight, then that will help a lot. Now, you can lose weight. If you're on the proper diet, you will absolutely lose weight. People struggle with their weight and they try and they diet and they count calories and they do all these other things. Being overweight is a reflection of what you eat. It's not how much you eat, okay? You need to be eating the right food. You need to be cutting sugar out of your diet, cutting carbohydrates out of your diet, going onto a ketogenic diet that balances the hormones in your body so that you don't feel hungry when you don't need food, okay? You can't be obese and hungry. Think of the illogicality of that, okay? Excess body fat is a fuel supply. How can you be hungry when you've got all that fuel to burn? So clearly something's not right. That is a diet thing. Now, losing weight with diet, you also need to use your diet to lower your inflammation because, the food we typically eat is mostly very inflammatory. And so you have such high levels of inflammation that the moment there's anything wrong anywhere, it flares up so badly that you can't even figure out where the pain really is. It's just your whole hip is in pain. And if you didn't have the added inflammation from eating the wrong food, the actual specific problem or the injury would be much easier to pinpoint. So we want a diet that is going to lower our inflammation and bring our weight down. Then the third thing you need is to make sure that you're eating enough of the things that are helpful, okay? The food that does give you the nutrients you need to build collagen, to get your cartilage cells to produce collagen, to restore your cartilage and build up your joints, or your tendons, or your ligaments, and your muscles, and very often that's the same thing. So the type of food you need to be eating and the food you need to be avoiding is the same. Whether you have osteoarthritis, bursitis, a torn labrum, ligament problem, any kind of tendinopathy, any of those things, it's the same. Okay, so I'm going to link a video at the end of this. If I'm remembering right, I called it your arthritis diet, but it's not just arthritis, okay? This diet is absolutely correct for any of these conditions, and you only have to do it for 3 months, and you will see how much better you feel. So you get the diet right, the weight's down, the inflammation's down, it clears things up enough for you to be able to understand better where your problem is, and it's easier then for you to communicate with your doctor or your medical professional about what more needs to be done. If anything, you may find that that alone is enough to solve your problem. Now, you do need to think about the exercises you're doing because it's movement and exercise that grinds down the cartilage in your joint. So I don't mean going and running marathons, even just walking around. It's all exercise. It's all movement. So you need to cut down on anything you're doing to excess. Running, unfortunately, and I'm a runner, I've been a runner all my life, running is one of the worst at grinding down cartilage if things aren't 100% right. So if you're too heavy, if you're inflamed, if you're not eating right, and if you have an imbalance. So you need to do different exercises to restore the balance of strength around the joint so everything stays aligned and then it wears evenly instead of drilling a hole into one spot. And as we get older, that becomes more common. Because as we get older, our muscles shrink and we lose strength. It's called sarcopenia. That's the process. And it doesn't happen to all muscles at the same rate. So you will start losing strength typically in your gluteal muscles in your butt, but the muscles in your quads in the front of your leg stay strong, and that creates an imbalance and pulls the bone against one side of the joint, the socket in the joint, and now you start literally drilling a hole in your cartilage. So you need an exercise routine, simple exercise routine, to keep those muscles engaged so that they don't get too weak. All right, and here again is a picture, we'll put it here this time, of another video that will also be at the end of the video, this video, about some really simple, easy exercises for you to do at home just to re-engage those muscles, because your gluteal muscles and your gluteus medius in particular is almost always weaker relative to your other muscles as you get older, and is a massive contributor to a lot of these conditions, not only to arthritis, to tendinitis, to tendinopathies, to all these problems. Okay, so you follow the exercise regime, you eat properly, you back off and give your body a chance. Stop doing the thing that you are doing repetitively. Change your exercises. Let the pain guide you. Maybe you want to try swimming. I tried swimming. It hurt a lot, so I just stopped. Other people swim and they find it very useful. So there is absolutely hope for you. You don't have to commit to surgery and anything dramatic or expensive until you've gone through this and got your body to a stage where it's got some space. It's able to breathe, okay? Your inflammation is down. Your weight has come down. You're rebalancing the muscles, given your cartilage a bit of time. See how much it starts to grow the collagen back. Not that you can see that, but you can feel it and you'll know. And if you are, like me, 75% better after 3 months, well, then you just carry on, because in another 3 months, you'll be 90% better, and maybe in a year, you're running again like I was. You don't necessarily have to do this. Okay, so you can go through these videos and you can have a look at it. If you really want to, you can go to my website and you can contact me for an appointment, and I'll do a consultation with you, because that's what I do. I even have a course, okay, if you really want to deep dive into all these things with specific foods you can eat and more exercises, then please go and have a look to see what that involves. It's a program rather than a course. It's not very expensive. It's a real good menu of things you can follow for a 3-month period. But look at the free videos first. Maybe that's enough for you. That's absolutely fine. There is hope. Okay, don't give up, don't despair, and don't commit too early to something you're really scared of, like a hip replacement. Just understand that might not actually be the issue. All right. Good luck. Go through the videos. Contact me, as I say, if you want to, and we can chat about it. We can book a consultation. Have a look at my website. See what my hip self-management program is all about, and that might just actually save you an awful lot of trouble and pain and money. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to this channel. We do make videos on a regular basis about diet and nutrition and medical related issues, to try and explain them in a way that makes them easier for people to understand, so that you can make better decisions about your life and take charge of your own health and not rely on somebody else to do it for you.